Harris not only won the debate last night, but she got another victory. Say what you will about Taylor Swift, and God knows that I have said what I will about Taylor Swift, but after teasing for a long time, she finally made her endorsement, and her timing was impeccable. It was very impressive. And not only that, but the picture she gave with it. Here's what she posted right after the debate. She said, I will be casting my vote for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz in the 2024 presidential election. I'm voting for Kamala Harris because she fights for the rights and causes I believe need a warrior to champion them. I think she is a steady handed, gifted leader, and I believe we can accomplish so much more in this country if we are led by calm and not chaos. I was so heartened and impressed by her selection of running mate Tim Walz, who has been standing up for LGBTQ plus rights, IVF, and a woman's right to her own body for decades. I've done my research and I've made my choice. Your research is all yours to do, and the choice is all yours to make. She went on to say more. I also want to say, especially to first time voters, remember that in order to vote, you have to be registered. I also find it's much easier to vote early. I'll link where to register and find early voting dates and info in my story. With love and hope, Taylor Swift. And then she signed it Childless Cat Lady, and there's a picture of her with her cat. So it's great. It was good that she did that.
A storm is tearing up the digital media industry. Only our audience can save us in these difficult times. Help us reach our goal of 100,000 new members at tyt.com/team.
I have been convinced recently that, it does kind of matter what these celebrities say, whether or not I like it. And we'll get to that in a little bit. But Mark Levin responded to her endorsement, calling her an imbecile, which is interesting. He said, Taylor Swift imbecile. Taylor Swift just endorsed for president the most anti-Semitic, pro-Islamist, pro-criminal, anti-cop, anti-middle class and working people, open borders, anti-women's sports, anti-military, inflation-causing, job-destroying, pathological liar, and extremist Marxist politician ever to run for president. Then Elon Musk had this creepy response to her. He said, fine, Taylor, you win. I will give you a child and guard your cats with my life. And Trump was, of course, furious, and he warned that this would hurt her based on absolutely nothing. Take a look at this.
Out of nowhere, after the debate last night, Taylor Swift endorsed Kamala Harris. What do you think?
Well, I actually like I actually like Mrs. Mahomes much better, if you want to know the truth. She's a big Trump fan. I was not a Taylor Swift fan. It was just a question of time. You couldn't possibly endorse Biden. You look at Biden, you couldn't possibly endorse him. But she's a very liberal person. She seems to always endorse a Democrat, and she'll probably pay a price for it in the marketplace. But no, I like Brittany. I think Brittany's great. Brittany got a lot of news last week. She's a big MAGA fan. That's the one I like much better than Taylor Swift.
Yeah, I don't think people care nearly as much about Brittany Mahomes as they do about Taylor Swift. But a recent Harvard study found that, again, as much as I hate to admit it, celebrities do have an impact on elections because they promote civic engagement and affect poll numbers. And The Hill reported poll results that found that 1 in 6 people were more likely to vote with a push from Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. And, we were talking about this one night on the TYT main show with Cenk and Mark. And basically, I don't feel like people should take their political advice from celebrities. They're just a person. They're not necessarily experts on these matters. But, we live in this weird political bubble where we are consuming all this information all the time. And a lot of people don't live their lives that way. And it's important for us who do this kind of work to remember that. And, if Taylor Swift finally saying something about this is going to put all of that into the periphery of these people who may or may not be paying as close attention, then I guess that is a good thing. I will concede the point. Brett, what do you think?
Donald Trump absolutely, positively, 100% wants Taylor Swift's endorsement.
Oh, yeah.
There is no world in which this guy doesn't want that blonde looker with all the fans' numbers. He wants that. He wants it 100%. And he wants it so bad because if you look at the list of celebrities, if you can call them that appeared at the Republican National Convention to take center stage, they don't have nearly the fan base of Taylor Swift. No one does. She's number one for the last 7 years in every possible category. He wants it so bad. It's so pathetic, almost as pathetic as Elon Musk saying he wants to give her a kid. I love that Elon Musk thinks he's like Iron Man. He thinks he's Tony Stark. I mean, he was considered that. He and JD Vance are in this weird bubble of being like kind of Hollywood darlings until people kind of found out more about them. And then they're like, you're just creepy to invite to our parties now. And so there's that. And then Mark Levin saying all that list of things like she's the most anti-Semitic, pro-murder, pro-your death, pro-immigration. It's like, listen, this is the point that I forgot earlier in the show that I want to bring back up. Anytime the Republicans bring up immigration as an issue and then try to say that Kamala Harris is this crazy radical leftist Marxist who wants the immigrants, who only wants murder immigrants to come and slit the throat of your family as they sleep. Kamala Harris worked on bipartisan immigration reform with Lankford, with people across the aisle, and the person who submarined that deal was Donald Trump. Yeah. It was, and I've talked to Republicans in the wake of this, and they've said, "Oh, well, it was tied to some other aid for Ukraine." Well, that aid for Ukraine passed like 5 minutes later. Trump just wanted to submarine it so he could campaign on it. But I mean, Guy, if you're going to campaign on it, maybe you want to leave out this weird other wrinkle of eating cats, you weirdo.
Yeah, and Kamala Harris, I think, did a good job of bringing that up in last night's debate, and making him say that he's the one who torpedoed it. And it's strange that that is what happened, and they did it specifically so they could use it as a campaign talking point. But she called him out for it, and then he continued to just default back to that. Every time things got a little bit tricky for him last night, he would somehow manage to bring up all these immigrants and all these terrible people who are coming over from God knows where. I guess they're coming from, the Caribbean, they're coming from Central America, wherever, South America, and now they're eating your dogs and your cats. And yeah, I don't know how anyone thought this was going to go well for him. A lot of Republicans really are not happy about the direction that he went with a lot of the questions that he was asked. But Donald Trump, whenever he was asked about it, whenever the moderators called him out and fact checked him immediately about the pet thing, his response was, well, I saw it on television. You're running to be the president of the United States, and that's your source, is why I saw it on TV. Just like every other like old grandpa who's just sitting in a lazy boy watching Fox News all day. That's fine for that grandpa, but it's not fine for that grandpa to then decide to go run for the presidency.